This is question 47 from section 1 of the 2016 TSA paper. And the question is, which of the following illustrates the principle used in the argument? So let's look at the argument. First it says, it's time for prostitution to be legalised. It's been illegal for thousands of years and yet it's still present. Clearly, being illegal doesn't provide enough deterrent to stop people engaging in it. So it's saying that just being illegal isn't enough to deter people from prostitution. Then it says we're not going to eradicate prostitution, so we're not going to get rid of it. So we should give up trying and legalise it. And then lastly, money spent in prosecuting prostitutes and clients could be better used elsewhere. So let's quickly have a look at the structure of the argument and we'll try and find the principle behind it. Well, there's one big should statement at the start, which is also repeated later on, which is that prostitution should be legalised. So it looks like that's the conclusion. And that makes sense because everything else makes sense as a reason for that conclusion, that being illegal doesn't deter it, we can't eliminate it, and the money used could be better used elsewhere. So since this is the conclusion, whatever principle is underlying the argument, the principle should be about what should be legal. So the principle should say something like, in these conditions, something should be legal. And where is there a plausible use of that principle? So in this kind of question, the principle isn't always explicitly used in a single sentence, but we could look for something that might be a use of the principle in one of the sentences. And sentence 4 is promising. It says, we won't eliminate it. That's just a fact. But then it says, so we should do something. And that something is just a conclusion. So we should give up and legalise it. So it looks like this is a case where the writer is actively drawing this conclusion from a piece of information, which is that we won't eliminate prostitution. So at least in this sentence, it looks like what the writer is relying on is the principle that if we can't stop prostitution completely, then we should legalise prostitution. And we're looking for an illustration of this principle, so it's going to be another case. So I've just replaced prostitution with an X, because whatever illustration turns out to be the answer, it's going to be about some other situation. So this is a plausible guess for the principle behind the argument. Let's have a look at the options and see if any of them actually illustrates this principle. Okay, so here are my 5 options, and here's what we think might be the principle behind the argument. If we can't stop something completely, then we should legalise it. And remember that I've underlined this last bit because we said whatever the principle is, it should definitely be about what should be legal. So we're looking for one of the options to be talking about what should be legal. And the only one that explicitly is B. It says some people will murder if it's illegal or not, and therefore it shouldn't be illegal. So whether or not you think this is a true statement, that doesn't matter. We've just got to compare it to the principle behind the argument. And it looks like what we were suggesting is the principle. And it is about what should be legal. So this is a good guess for what the answer would be. Let's just try to eliminate the others. So A, the clients of prostitutes should be prosecuted, not the prostitutes themselves. Well, this isn't talking about what should be illegal. It's not actually an illustration on a different topic. It's like an extension of something else the writer said. So it doesn't look like an illustration of a principle. And nothing in the argument talks about the difference between clients and prostitutes. So there's no reason to think it's A. C says certain people who deal illegal substances due to being from a poor background shouldn't be prosecuted. Well, maybe this is about what should be legal. Maybe if we just stretch it because it's about people who shouldn't be prosecuted. But the background of the people involved was never mentioned in the argument. It doesn't correspond to anything the writer was talking about. In particular, it doesn't look like this, so that's unlikely to be the answer. The focus of police, that's not something the writer was talking about. D isn't about what should be legal or illegal, so that's not going to be the answer. And then likewise E, what happens to young offenders, so people who've already been arrested, is relevant to what should be legal or illegal, so that's not the answer. And so we see here that the answer is B.